We are on to chapter 6 of the Bhagavad Gita, and this chapter is called Dhyana Yoga. Dhyana means meditation. It's the Sanskrit for meditation. So this whole chapter deals with the path of Raja Yoga. Raja means royal, the royal path. Remember we talked about 4 paths. There's Raja Yoga, Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga, and Bhakti Yoga. This particular chapter is going to go more into Raja Yoga, which is meditation. Dhyana means meditation. And Krishna started to talk about meditation at the end of chapter 5, and this chapter really goes more deeply into it. So let's start with verse 1. It's a long chapter, so we're going to breeze through things. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Anashritaha Karma Palam Karyam Karma Karoti Ya Sa Sanyasi Cha Yogi Cha Na Niragnir Na Chakriyaha. The Blessed Lord said, Krishna, he who performs his bounden duty without depending on the fruits of his actions, he is a sannyasi and a yogi, not he who is without fire and without action. So this is talking about, again, that you can't get away from doing action in this world, and you can't get away from your duties, whatever your duties might be. Duties to your friends, to your family, to your society, to yourself as well. And that is dharma. Dharma is duty, obligation. And that person who is not attached to whatever action they're doing, that is a yogi and that is a sannyasi. A sannyasi is a renunciate. We could well ask, what's the difference between a yogi and a sannyasi? Aren't they the same? Basically they are, yeah. Yam sannyasam iti prahur yogam tam vidi pandava na hyasanyasta sankalpa yogi bhavati kaschana. Do you, O Arjuna, know that yoga is what they call renunciation? No one indeed becomes a yogi who has not renounced their thoughts. So there we go. Yoga is renunciation, and sannyasi is a yogi. And this is talking about mental renunciation, not the physical renunciation. You can renounce, you can go live in a cave or on a mountain and renounce the world, and yogis have done that. They're called ascetics. But the real yoga, you can do that and still not have the mental renunciation. The mental renunciation is really the true yoga. And then it says here, Yam Sanyasam Iti Prahor Yogam. So yoga is what they call renunciation. It's another definition of yoga. Okay, verse 3. Arurukshor Muner Yogam Karma Karanam Uchyate Yoga Rudasya Tasyaiva Shamaha Karanam Uchyate. For a sage who wishes to attain to yoga, action is said to be the means. For the same sage who has attained yoga, inaction is said to be the means. So to get to yoga, you have to act. You act without attachment. When you get to that place of yoga, you don't act. There's no action anymore. Verse 4. And that means that you're free of karma, right? This is again and again in Gita. There's a lot of repetition, right? Verse 4. Yadahi nendriyarteshu na karmas vanushajate sarva sankalpa sanyasi yoga rudas tadochyate. When a person is not attached to the sense objects or to actions, having renounced all thoughts, then they are said to have attained yoga. They've done that mental renunciation. They're not attached to the sense objects or to their actions. And then thus they have attained yoga through doing that. How many of us have really done that? Udarid atmanatmanam natmanam avasadayet atmaiva hyatmano bandur atmaiva ripur atmanaha. One should raise oneself by one's own self alone. Let not one lower oneself, for the self alone is one's own friend, and the self alone is one's own enemy. Could go both ways, right? Could go both ways. It's going to say more about this in the next verse. Bandur atmanas tasya yenat maivatmana jitaha anatmanas tu shatrudve vartetatmaiva shatruvat. The self is the friend of the self by whom the self has been conquered. But to the unconquered self, this self stands in the position of an enemy, like an external foe. This is talking about how, this is why the Gita, on the surface, is a war between two external foes, but it's really the war in our own heart and mind. It's Arjuna. It's the war within Arjuna, right? And Arjuna is all of us. Verse 7. Chitatmanaha prashantasya paramatma samahitaha shitoshna sukha dukeshu tata mana pamanayoho. The supreme self of him who is self-controlled and peaceful remains balanced in cold and heat, pleasure and pain, as well as in honor and dishonor. So again, the yogi, the renunciate, the one who is self-controlled and peaceful, the yogi, right? They're in the center of these dualities, right? They are in that place of indifference. They are not affected one way or the other. Pleasure and pain, hot and cold, victory, defeat. What else? Honor, dishonor. It's all the same. There's no grasping, no attachment, one way or another. Jnana vijnana triptatma kuta sto vijitendriya yukta uchyate yogi sama loshtashma kanchanaha. The yogi who is satisfied with the knowledge and wisdom of the self, who has conquered the senses, and to whom a clod of earth, a piece of stone, and gold are all the same, is said to have attained nirvikalpa samadhi. It doesn't say nirvikalpa samadhi here, actually. But it's basically saying that this yogi who has attained to the supreme self and knowledge of the self, he is in this highest state of meditation, highest state, nirvikalpa samadhi. Anyone who knows the Yoga Sutras knows that samadhi is the eighth limb, the final limb. And nirvikalpa samadhi is the highest form of samadhi. Surin mitra yudasina madhyasta dveshya bandushu sadhu shvapi cha papeshu samabuddhir vishishyate. He who is of the same mind towards the good-hearted, friends, enemies, the indifferent, the neutral, the hateful, the relatives, the righteous, and the unrighteous excels. So this is saying that you are the same. Sama means same. Sama in Sanskrit, right? You're the same. You're equal-minded, even-minded. Samatvam yoga. Samatvam yoga uchyate from chapter 2. Yoga is evenness or equanimity. You see with samadarshinas, equal vision. You see everyone and everything, the sameness, right? The equality. You have the same mind towards all of them. You have no preferences, no likes and dislikes. Nothing disturbs your mind, in other words. Yogi yunjita satatam atmanam rahasi stita ekaki yata chitatma nirashir aparigraha. Let the yogi constantly strive to keep the mind steady, remaining in solitude alone with the body and mind controlled and free from hope and greed. This brings in aparigraha, which is also in the Yoga Sutras, one of the yamas, being free from greed. So now it's getting into the idea that the yogi actually, this is talking about dhyana yoga, raja yoga, and that you actually will separate yourself to be in solitude, right? You'll go and you'll do a practice, some kind of meditation practice. It's going to talk about the details now of what this is. Verse 11, Shuchau deshe pratishtapya stiram asanam atmanaha nachuchritam nati nicham chailagya kushotaram. In a clean spot, having established a firm seat of his own, neither too high nor too low, made of cloth, skin, and kusha grass, layered one over the other. So the seat is the asana, right? Asanam is the seat of the yogi. So the yogi prepares this place to sit on. It's made of cloth, skin, and kusha grass. in a clean place. So he's got this asana. This is the only time in the Bhagavad Gita that it talks about asana. It doesn't talk about any asanas. It doesn't talk about any yoga postures here. It only talks about the seat of the yogi, the meditation seat. Okay? Verse 12. So you prepare this seat for yourself to meditate. Tatrai kagram manaha kritva yata chitendriya kriyaha upavishyasane yunyad yogam atma vishuddhaye. There, having made the mind one-pointed, ekagra, with the actions of the mind and senses controlled, let him, seated on the seat, practice yoga for the purification of the self. So the yogi sits on the seat, makes his mind one-pointed, and controls the senses, and practices a meditation. So let's talk about, now it's going to talk about what that is. 13. Samam kayas shiro grivam darayan achalam stira sampreksha nasikagram svam dishan chana valokayan. Let him firmly hold his body, head, and neck erect and still, gazing at the tip of the nose without looking around. So again, this is like sitting nice and straight, gazing at the tip of your nose. Maybe not with your eyes open, maybe just with your eyes closed, keeping focus on your nostrils, on your breath. So this is meditation instructions from Krishna. How to meditate. Prashantatma vigata bir brahmachari vrate stita manaha samyamya machito yukta asita mat paraha. Serene-minded, fearless, firm in the vow of brahmachari, having controlled their mind, thinking of me and balanced in mind, let them sit, having me as their supreme goal. So now it's talking also about being in the brahmacharya vow, which is the vow of continence, meaning not thinking about sex. Basically, in this case, it's not you don't think about sexuality, which is a big stumbling block for meditators, right? To not think about that. Serene, fearless, controlling their mind, and they think and they dwell on the supreme, and that is meditation. That is how to meditate. 15. Yunjan evam sadatmanam yogi nigata manasaha shantim nirvana paramam mat sanstam adi gachati. Thus, always keeping the mind balanced, the yogi with the mind controlled attains the peace abiding in me, culminating in liberation. So keep the mind balanced, with the mind controlled, being in that peaceful state, and you get to the place of liberation through that process. This is dhyana. This is meditation. This is also the path of Raja Yoga, as we mentioned, the royal path of yoga. It doesn't mean that's the best path. It's called the royal path. Some people will say it is the highest path, but let's not play favorites here. All the paths are important. You'll see in different places that, including in the Bhagavad Gita itself, each path is extolled as the highest. Like, the path of knowledge, this is the highest. Right? Meditation, the highest. Bhakti yoga is the highest. The path of selfless action is the only way. They're really all complement each other, and you really want to integrate all of these paths together. Natyashnatastu yogosti nat chaikantam anashnata na chati svapna shilasya jagrato naiva charjuna. Verily, yoga is not possible for him who eats too much, nor for him who does not eat at all, nor for him who sleeps too much, nor for him who is always awake, O Arjuna. So again, this is the path. This is the middle way, right? Buddha talked about the same thing, the middle path. You don't go to extremes. You have to, yoga is not for someone who doesn't eat at all, doesn't sleep at all. There's some balance that you have to have. There's a balance. You got to find that balance. Yuktahara viharasya yukta cheshtasya karmasu yukta svapna vabodasya yogo bhavati dukkha. Yoga becomes the destroyer of pain for him who is moderate in eating and recreation, who exercises moderation in action, and who is moderate in sleep and wakefulness. Moderation, right? Moderation. So you don't want to go to extremes. This is not an extreme path that Krishna is talking about here. Yada viniyatam chitam atman yeva vatishtate visprihaha sarva kamebhyo yukta uchyate tada. When the perfectly controlled mind rests in the self alone, free from longing for any of the objects of desire, then it is said, he is united. It's just it's a restatement of what has already been said. This is what it means to be in the state of yoga, or yoked. Yukta is being yoked. 19. Yata dipo nivatasto nengate sopama smrita yogino yata chitasya yunjato yogam atmanaha. As a lamp placed in a windless spot does not flicker, so is the yogi of a controlled mind who practices yoga in the self compared. So the yogi's mind does not flicker, just like a candle flame in the wind does not, or in a windless place. In a windless place does not flicker. So the yogi's mind is steady-minded. 20. When the mind restrained by the practices of yoga attains quietude, and when one sees the self by the self, they are satisfied in their own self. I'm not going to do we'll skip the Sanskrit just to move along a little bit. 21 now. Sukham at yanittikam ya tad buddhi grahyam atindriyam veti yatra na chaivayam stitash chalati tatvataha. When he, the yogi, feels the infinite bliss which can be grasped by the pure intellect and which transcends the senses and is established therein, never moving away from the reality. That sentence didn't make a lot of sense in translation, but the sukham is the happiness. The yogi feels that happiness from being in that place of steady focus on the self. 22. Yam labdva chaparam labham manyate nadikam tata yasmin stito na dukena gurunapi vichalyate. Having attained it, he thinks there is no other gain superior to it. Established in it, he is not moved even by heavy sorrow. Heavy sorrow, dukena, guruna, dukena. Heavy sorrow does not move this one who is in this place and they feel like they've attained the highest. Obviously, this is again, Krishna is talking to Arjuna who's upset, right? Arjuna, this all started with Arjuna being very upset, right? And Krishna is telling him there's a way to go beyond all grievances and all sorrow. And here's the way, I'm going to tell you. 23. Tam vidyad dukkha sanyoga viyogam yoga sangnitam sa nischayena yoktavyo yogo nirvina chetasa. This again is another definition of yoga that Krishna is giving. Let this be known by the name of yoga, the severance from the union with pain. So dukkha sanyoga viyogam. Dukkha sanyoga viyogam is the severance from union with pain. Dukkha is pain. Sukha is happiness. Dukkha is pain. This yoga should be practiced with determination and with an undespairing mind. So in other words, you go beyond sorrow. You go beyond dukkha. You've released all the suffering, all the sorrow, and you've attained to sukha. And that's what yoga is. Yoga is freedom from suffering. Let's put it that way. Yoga is freedom from suffering. No suffering. Sankalpa prabhavan kamanas tyaktva sarvan asheshataha manasaivendriya gramam viniyamya samantataha. Abandoning unreservedly all desires born of sankalpa, which is thought and imagination, and completely restraining the whole group of senses by the mind from all sides. This is an interesting use of sankalpa because we tend to think of the word sankalpa in yoga as a good thing, because we use sankalpa for intention, like let's make a sankalpa, let's make an intention. But here, sankalpa is really actually is referring more to that place of imagination within ourselves that creates desires and which causes grasping. So the yogi abandons that. The yogi renounces those, whatever is going to lead to those desires. And he uses the word sankalpa here. 25. Shanair uparamid buddhyadriti grihitaya atma sanastam manaha kritva na kinchid api chintayet. Little by little, let him attain steadiness of the intellect by holding it firmly. Having made the mind establish itself in the self, let him not think of anything else. I like little by little. Little by little. I'm not sure what the Sanskrit is there for that. But you steady focus, right? Having a steady focus is what's going to take you there. Little by little, it'll take you there. Yato yato, nischarati manash chanchalam astiram tatastato niyam yaitad atman yeva vasham nayet. From whatever cause the restless and unsteady mind wanders away, let him restrain it from that and bring it under the control of the self alone. So this is how to meditate, right? You meditate. When you meditate, your mind will almost inevitably wander. When the mind wanders, you bring it back, right? You keep bringing it back to to the center, to your calm center, to your one-pointed focus. Right? That's the practice of meditation, right here in the Gita. You heard it here first, or one of the first places. Prashanta manasam hyenam yoginam sukham uttamam upaiti shanta rajasam brahma bhutam akalmasham. Supreme bliss indeed comes to this yogi whose mind is made peaceful, whose passion is quelled, who has become Brahman, and who is free from sin. Supreme bliss, okay? Prashanta, the supreme bliss is Sukham Uttamam. Sukham is, again, happiness or bliss. Supreme bliss, right? You have overcome all sorrow. You've gotten to this place of true peace. True peace. Yunjan evam sadatmanam yogi vigata kalmashaha sukena brahma sansparsham at yantam sukham ashnute. The yogi, always engaging the mind thus in the practice of yoga, is freed from sins and easily enjoys the infinite bliss of contact with Brahman. So the yogi practices this constantly. The yogi practices this either whether they're on their asana, their seat, or whether they're just doing whatever they're doing. They're practicing keeping the mind steady, keeping the mind focused, and they enjoy that supreme bliss of contact with Brahman. Brahma sansparsham. They're constantly touching Brahman. They're constantly in touch with Brahman, which is the supreme reality. Sarvabhutastam atmanam sarvabhutani chatmani ikshate yoga yuktatma sarvatra samadarshanaha. With the mind harmonized by yoga, he sees the self abiding in all beings in the self. He sees the same everywhere. This is a great verse. You know, the yogi sees all himself in all beings in himself. He has attained yoga yukta atma. He's yoked in yoga. His soul is yoked in yoga, and he sees the divine everywhere. He sees the sameness of everything, and he is not deluded. Right? No more illusion, no more delusion. Verse 30. Yo mam pashyati sarvatra sarvam cha mayi pashyati. Tashyaham na pranashyami satcha me na pranashyati. He who sees me everywhere and sees everything in me never becomes separated from me, nor do I from him. He sees me everywhere. You see God in all things, and you see that everything is God. And so you, in doing that, when you get to that place, you are in God consciousness. Right? You are in God consciousness. 31. Sarvabhutastitam yomam bhajat yekatvam astitaha sarvatar vartamano pi sayogi mayi vartate. He who, being established in unity, worships me, who dwells in all beings, that yogi abides in me, whatever their mode of living may be. So you could be in any station of life, doesn't matter, and you could be in this consciousness, And you can't judge who's there and who's not. You can't judge by what anyone does in life. Someone may be, you may think, well, that person, they're just, they're a trash collector or whatever. And they may be in God consciousness. They may be living in that state. They may be a true yogi. And there you are judging them. Obviously you're not. If you're judging someone, you're not in that state, because that state means you're free from judgment. Atmau pamyena sarvatra samam pashyati yo Arjuna sukham va yadi va dukkam sa yogi paramo mataha. He who, through the likeness of the self, O Arjuna, sees reality everywhere, be it pleasure or pain, is regarded as the highest yogi. Again, this is restatement. You see the divine everywhere. That's the highest state. Arjuna uvacha yo yam yogastvaya proktaha samyema madhusudana etasyaham na pashyami chanchalatvat stitim stiram. Arjuna said, O Krishna, I do not see how this yoga of equanimity, which you have taught me, samyena is the word for equanimity. I do not see how this yoga of equanimity, which you have taught me, can be maintained steadily due to the restlessness of the mind. He said that. So Arjuna is saying the mind is very restless. I don't see how this is even possible. What you're talking about here. Chanchalam hi mana Krishna pramati balavad dridam tasyaham nigraham manye vayur eva sudushkaram. The mind is indeed restless, turbulent, strong, and unyielding, O Krishna. I consider it as difficult to control as controlling the wind, the vayu. It's difficult to control as controlling the wind. It's interesting how the mind and wind, it's basically the same word, except there's an M and a W, right? An upside down M and wind. 35, Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Asanshayam Mahabaho Mano Donigraham Chalam Abhyasena Tu Kaunteya Vairagyena Cha Grihate. The Blessed Lord said, undoubtedly, O mighty armed Arjuna, the mind is difficult to control and restless, but with practice and dispassion, it can be restrained. So Krishna is affirming to Arjuna, from where you are, it seems impossible. But I want to affirm to you that it is indeed possible, right? You can't see it from where you are, but this is doable. You can do this. Anyone can do this. 36. Asanyatatmana yogo dushprapa iti me mati vashyatmana tu yatata shakyo vaptum upayataha. I think yoga is hard to be attained by one with an uncontrolled self, but the self-controlled and striving one can attain it by the appropriate means. So the one who is striving, the one who really wants it and is able to be controlled, self-controlled, can attain it. No doubt about it. Ain't no doubt about it. 37. Arjuna Uvacha Ayati Shraddhayopeto Yagach Chalita Manasaha Aprapya Yoga Sansiddhim Kan Gatim Krishna Gachati. Arjuna said, he who is unable to control himself, even though he has faith, and whose mind wanders away from yoga, what end does he meet, having failed to attain perfection in yoga, O Krishna? This is a great question. What about the yogi who doesn't make it? Right? He's got faith, he's trying, but he doesn't make it all the way to yoga. So what happens to that person? It's a very interesting answer that Krishna is going to give now to this question, Kanchin nobhaya vibrashtash chinabram iva nashyati apratishto maha baho vimudo brahmanaha pati. Fallen from both, does he not perish like a rent cloud, supportless, O mighty armed one, deluded on the path of Brahman? It's a continuation of the question. This is a yogi brashta, the yogi who has fallen, who has deviated from the path. What happens to that person? Etan me sanshayam Krishna chetum arhasya sheshataha tvad anya sanshayasya cheta na hupapadyate. O Krishna, please completely dispel this doubt of mine, for it is not possible for anyone but you to do so. Arjuna has full faith in Krishna. Please tell me, I have this doubt. Please answer for me. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Partha Naiveha Namutra Vinashas Tasya Vidyate Nahi Kalyana Krit Kaschid Durgatim Tata Gachati. The Blessed Lord said, O Arjuna, neither in this world nor in the next will there be destruction for him. None indeed who does good, O my son, ever comes to grief. So don't worry. If you're on the path, you will be protected. You will not come to grief. Remember, Krishna originally said in chapter 2, even a little bit of this yoga protects you from great fear. Prapya punya kritam lokam ushitva shashvatihi samaha suchinam shrimatam gehe yoga brashto bijayate. Having attained to the worlds of the righteous and having dwelt there for everlasting years, he who fell from yoga is born in a house of the pure and wealthy. All right, so the yogi goes to a better place after death, goes to a better place, and stays there for a while, but then is reborn in a body into a family that is pure and wealthy, prosperous, in the pious and prosperous household. So he's reborn in a household where it's possible to continue the practice of yoga. Atava yoginam eva kule bhavati dimatam etadi dorlabhataram loke janma yad idrisham. Or he is born in a family of even the wisest of yogis. Verily, such a birth is very difficult to obtain in this world. So this yogi, the fallen yogi, the one who didn't make it all the way, they're reborn into a household which is either pure and wealthy or a family of yogis. So the conditions are conducive to continue the practice of yoga and to make it in the next lifetime. Tatatam buddhi sanyogam labhate paurva dehikam yatate cha tato bhuyaha sansidao kuru nandana. Then he comes into contact with the knowledge acquired in his former body and strives even more for perfection, O Arjuna. So, this yogi who didn't make it all the way in the last lifetime, he's going to find his way in the next lifetime. He's going to get back to where he was and go even further in this lifetime, in this next lifetime. So don't worry. 34. Chanchalam hi manaha Krishna pramati balavad dridam tasyaham nigraham manye vayor eva sutushkaram. Oh, I'm sorry. I messed up. Let's go back. Verse 44. Sorry about that. Purva vyasena tenaiva hriyate hyavasho pi saha jignasur api yogasya shabda brahmativartate. By that same form of practice he is borne on in spite of himself. Even he who merely wishes to know yoga goes beyond the Brahmanic word. I'm not sure what that means exactly. I'll have to check on that. But that the yogi in this new lifetime finds his way again. You know, the bottom line is he finds his way again, and will find his way back to the yoga practice to continue the process. Prayatnad yata manas tu yogi sanshuddha kilbishaha aneka janma sansiddhas tatoyati param gatim. But the yogi who strives assiduously, purified of sins and perfected gradually over many births, reaches the highest goal. Okay, so this comes from many births, and this happens over the course of ages, and eventually that yogi will reach moksha, will attain to liberation, will attain to the highest state of yoga. May take a while, but that yogi is going to get there. 46. Tapas vibhyo diko yogi gnanibhyo pi mato dikaha karmi bhyash shadiko yogi tasmad yogi bhavarjuna. The yogi is thought to be superior to the ascetics, even superior to those who have knowledge obtained through the study of scriptures. He is also superior to men of action. Therefore, be thou a yogi, O Arjuna. Tasmad yogi bhavarjuna. Be a yogi, Arjuna. Yogi is superior to all these other things. The ascetics, the ones who have knowledge of the scriptures, and also those who act in the world. Yoginam api sarvesham mad gatinantar atmana Shraddhavan bhajate yomam same yuktatamo mataha. Among all the yogis, he who full of faith and with his inner self merged in me, Krishna, worships me is deemed by me to be the most devoted. So that's the end of this chapter. This chapter, just to do a short summary, was a lot about the path of meditation, Raja Yoga, and what you need to do, how the yogi meditates, right? And if you need some meditation instructions, here it is. This is one of the ancient meditation manuals. You sit straight. You prepare a nice space in a quiet place. You sit still, with your mind fixed on the Supreme. Focused mind, maybe on the tip of your nose. We'd have to talk. I'm almost done. We'd have to talk about the details a little bit more. But in other words, you do this practice, and the practice is supportive of getting to that place where you are established in yoga, right? And you are consistently in that place, right? That's what established means. This being established means you're consistently in that space of sukha, happiness, true happiness, or joy or bliss. So thank you. Hope this was helpful. This is chapter 6. We're going to move on to chapter 7 next, and stay tuned for more. If you'd like to make a contribution, I'm gonna be posting our Patreon, and also I'll probably post a book. I have a bunch of books on Amazon. There's several that might be of interest. You might just go to Alawalani on I'll put a link, and you can check it out. Thank you so much. Namaste.